Welcome to Wellywood Wargaming, where the grim dark never sleeps. Crack open a bottle of Wild Snake and spark up a low stick as we take a journey down Underhive.
Greetings Hive Scum, and welcome to episode 2 in my Alliances series for Necromunda. Someone did say in the last video that I've been wearing a hat a lot, and have I still got hair? Fresh fade, au naturel, no hair product, and I'm even wearing my own tea today as well. So back to my former self, in case you were wondering. But anyway, let's get on with this. We're into the second episode now. The first one, we did the Corpse Guild, and in this one today, we're going to be looking at the Xenos Cold Traders. I did just put Xenos in front of Cold Traders. They are just Cold Traders, but I have my own little crew, which I'm going to be showing you today. If you didn't check out the first video yet, that has got all of the flotsam and jetsam around how alliances are used in your campaign systems in Necromunda. So go and check that out for all that information. We're going to carry on with each of the different alliances that you can use, how you use them with your gangs, what their strong alliances are, what their downsides are, as well as how to use them in outcast gangs as well. So let's get into it. Now, the rules for Cold Traders are available in the House of Blades book, among maybe another book here or there, but House of Blades is definitely the place that you'll find them because they have a strong alliance with House Escher. They are smugglers of offshore goods and chems. These guys are most definitely outlaws, and that is why they align quite closely with the House of Blades. Now, as of this video going live, there is no official Games Workshop or Forge World resin kit for Cold Traders, so this is a really good opportunity to go ahead and kit bash and convert to your heart's content something that works for you. What I did with this is I ran with a Xenos idea. I went with a Cold Trader Party for my Outcast gang, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail later on in this video. I went with a sort of Eldari Corsair leader, a Felonid for my bosun, and a couple of sort of slith looking dudes as well, a brother and sister. And I also created a bunch of Outcast Mook scum as well. We've got a Kroot in there, we've got a Vespid, as well as a guy with a dog head, Dogman, I suppose. But yeah, this is a really, really good opportunity to do this. And like with any of these, actually, you don't have to go ahead and buy the Forge World resin kits. They are very expensive. They're gorgeous miniatures, but in this instance, without the miniatures, of course, go ahead and go crazy with these guys because it's a really fun, fluffy, narrative, engaging sort of alliance to get involved with. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can find the full rules for the Cold Traders in the House of Blades book. That is the Escher book. And again, they have a strong alliance with House Escher, which means that you do not have to worry about testing the alliance the first time you do it, or you still test the alliance, but it's an auto okay for testing the alliance. So if you're not sure how testing the alliance works, go back to my first video where I talk through everything about alliances and how they work in campaigns. Now, with any of the 6 criminal alliances you can go for, these are strictly for outlaw gangs. All of the criminal organizations are for outlaw gangs. All of the guilds are for lawful gangs. So it's worth mentioning that here. These are outlaw only. So you do have to be an outlaw gang to be able to have an alliance with Cold Traders. In terms of the benefits, they are pretty good. The first one is Xenos artifacts. So your gang will get access to, as a common item, sling guns, or otherwise known as shuriken catapults. I think they're pretty much a shuriken catapult. Again, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong with that, but they seem to act like a shuriken catapult. They are 55 credits, and they are a pretty awesome weapon, actually. They are, I think, only 12 inches at that long range, but they're strength 4, they're -2 AP, and they're rapid fire as well. I think they're quite tough on the ammo, but they're a decent weapon, a nice alternative to, say, a bolt gun. What you, relinquish in terms of damage output with the bolt gun, you get on AP -2. So really, really good for chewing through high armored targets. You get these for 55 credits, and you can give them to any fighter with the Gang Fighter X special rule in your gang. Not only the sling guns, though, you also get access to 20 credit armor weave, which is an sort of Eldari sort of technology bodysuit, I believe. Again, I could be wrong on this one, but 20 credits for something that's normally illegal 9 at the trading post. You get this on your Gang Fighter X fighters for 20 credits as is. So pretty cool here. What Armor Weave does is it offers you a 5-up save, so similar to Mesh Armor. However, it cannot be reduced past a 6+, which is really, really good when you're coming up against other sling guns or energy weapons like plasma guns, things like that. So a really, really good armor type, and for 20 credits, it's definitely worth it over Mesh Armor. Now, the other massive benefit, and obviously something that you'll get with all alliances pretty much, is that you'll get access to the actual Cold Trader Shore Party as part of your crew. So these guys, even in a random scenario selection, you must select these guys and they join your gang for free. They cost you no credits and they don't add to your crew rating either. They turn up and they add in and they muck in where possible. So those are the benefits for the Cold Trader Party. Before we go and look at the stats and stuff for them, let's have a look at some of the drawbacks. There are 2 drawbacks in this instance. The first one is called press ganged. During the pre-battle sequence, if the gang has the option of choosing the scenario to be played, roll a d6. On a 1, 2, or 3, the gang must choose the hit, escort mission, and last stand scenario, and take on the role of the attacker. On a 4+, they choose any scenario as normal. Instead of rolling, the gang can choose to play any scenario, but if they do, they must test the alliance. I feel like when these alliances came out, of course, the scenarios that are mentioned here are just a very tiny amount of the scenarios that we now have access to. So I feel like this needs updating at some point because those scenarios, you're certainly not going to be playing them all the time like we used to. So again, arbitrator discretion here. You could add in a few other scenarios to make this a little bit more variable, I suppose. But that's the first drawback anyway. The second one is called Imperial Entanglements. And this is where you get in trouble for being naughty little boys and girls. During the post-battle sequence, if the gang fielded a smuggler shore party, they must randomly select one of their fighters who is not in recovery to be subjected to investigation. This fighter is lying low and must miss the next battle. Instead of choosing a fighter, the gang can choose to ignore this drawback, but if they do, they must test the alliance. So, again, if you've got low rep, you can maybe risk testing the alliance, but it's a bit of a bad drawback because if you randomize and it's your leader or your champion that's out in the next game, that can be problematic. Of course, they're not injured or anything, nothing bad happens to them, and they will come in again in the next game. But if you then subsequently do it again and miss a leader for 2 or 3 games in a campaign, it can be a problem. So to mitigate this, you can optionally test the alliance. And again, I don't recommend doing this if you have high rep, of course, because then you won't be able to actually have this alliance anymore. So there you go. Those are the drawbacks for the Cold Traders. Now for the actual rules around the Smuggler Shore Party. We get 4 fighters here, much like we did with the Corpse Guild. We get 1 leader, which is the Cold Trader, 1 bosun, which acts as a champion, and 2 gangers, which honestly are pretty much the best ganger in the game. The special rules here, they get a band apart. Members of the Cold Traders take care of their own, especially valued representatives of their favoured attendants. A Smuggler Shore Party will remain separate and aloof from the gang they are working beside, disappearing during the post-battle sequence to tend to their wounds. If a Smuggler Shore Party goes out of action, no lasting injury is rolled and they are just out cold. They also have the here to help rule as well. Unlike other fighters, a Smuggler Shore Party is not counted during the choose crew step, which is what I mentioned earlier. Instead, at the end of this step, the fighters may, and in some cases must, be added to the crew regardless of the crew selection method in use. This may take the number of fighters in a starting crew above the number specified by the scenario. So you could end up feeling like you're playing Cawdor even when you're not. You've just got a bunch of extra guys, 4 extra guys. Now for the stats. A lot of these alliances are fairly underwhelming in the stats, particularly in the movement area, I find, which is a bit weird considering I think the Cold Trader is kind of geared towards being sort of like an Eldari of some kind. I mean, at least that's how I've played it anyway. The stats don't really match that, unfortunately, so I suppose you could just use a sort of human merc of some kind as well. But movement 4 for the Cold Trader, weapon skill 4+, and ballistic skill 3+, so slightly better at shooting but average on the weapon skill. Strength toughness 3, 2 wounds, initiative 4+, and an attacks 2 as well, with the mental stats being 7+ leadership, 6+ cool, 6+ willpower, and 6+ intelligence. So fairly good, above average in most ways, but otherwise kind of like a champion, but not as good on a lot of the house gangs there. Now, the Cold Trader does come with a sling gun and a stiletto knife as well, which is pretty nice to have, as well as some odd skills here. We've got Step Aside, which certainly isn't optimal, but it's nice to have. We've also got Overseer, though, which is something you'll see in a lot of alliances. Actually, the leaders quite often have Overseer, and this can be really good when you've got that sort of relatively high stat on the intelligence and the leadership and stuff as well. Armor Weave and a Bio Booster, again, 2 items that you get for free built into this. The Armor Weave, as we discussed earlier, is a pretty good armor type. Also, the Bio Booster, you're limiting a little bit of damage you take in the first instance as well. Again, nice to have. They act as the leader of this group and they get group activation 2 as well, and that only extends to the actual shore party too. So they do operate separately to the rest of your gang. They can't use Overseer on your gangers, and they also can't use that group activation either. That is exclusively for the Cold Trader shore party. Next, we have the Bosun. This one is a little bit weird, which is why I chose it to be a Felonid, a small little tiny cat person, because I feel that the stats are kind of closest to that. It could be a Rattling or something as well, though, because the stats are fairly similar in some ways. They movement is 4, weapon skill and ballistic skill 4+, strength 2 though, so very low strength for the Bosun. So again, makes you think that this could be a very small Felonid or a Rattling or something like that. Toughness 3, however, which is average. Only 1 wound though for a champion type, which is a bit unfortunate, and initiative 4+ as well isn't great either. Only 1 attack 2, and the mental stats are leadership 8+, 7+ for cool, 6+ for willpower, and 6+ for intelligence as well. Now, the Bosun comes with a regular shotgun with solid and scatter ammo, as well as a fighting knife as well, and comes with the dodge skill, which is pretty nice for that 6-up invuln save as well. Mesh armor, and of course, group activation 1, again, only extending to your shore party, and counts as a champion in terms of any other rule and interaction as well. Referring back to the first video, then we have the real highlight, and this is, of course, the gangers, the Voidborn Scum. When this first came out, I thought it was a misprint because I had to really double take about this, but honestly, the Voidborn Scum are fantastic. They count as gangers and the stats are ridiculous. I'm not sure if these guys are supposed to be Ogryns. Obviously, I built them as Slith types, which are quite large and big. And the reason for that is that they have a whopping 3 wounds, strength and toughness 5. So they're basically effectively an Ogryn, and they count as a ganger, which is just awesome. Their movement 4 though, so they're pretty slow. Weapon skill 3+ though, which is great. Ballistic skill 4+, which is again big guys with average ballistic skill is interesting. We've got initiative 4+ and 2 attacks as well. 8+ on the leadership, 7+ cool, 7+ willpower, and 7+ intelligence. So not even that bad on the mental stats, you know, above average in most cases anyway. They come with either an auto pistol with a fighting knife or las pistol and a fighting knife. So you can choose, you can't have both. It's either the auto pistol or the las pistol with a fighting knife. They also come inbuilt with flak armor as well, and they have bodyguard and indentured fighter as their special rules. In terms of bodyguard, this is much the same as most alliances as well. If a Cold Trader is hit by a ranged attack, the controlling player may choose to transfer the hit and all its effects onto a Voidborn Scum within 2 inches of the Cold Trader. Now, this is pretty good because these guys are toughness 5 and 3 wounds. So actually using these guys as bodyguards is exactly what you should do, especially seeing as they don't have much ranged threat on these things with only pistols. They're really good for just huddling around your shore party and just walking around in a little crew of 4. Using that when you can is pretty damn good because they're very tough and survivable as well. We've also got indentured fighter as well. So if both the Cold Trader and Bosun are removed from play for any reason, any Voidborn Scum without guidance will automatically behave as they've failed their bottle test as well. So you'll have to start taking those checks to make them stick around in games. So there you have it. That is the Cold Trader shore party and all of the benefits and drawbacks you get for them. I think they're a really, really good alliance. Very, very solid indeed. And they're awesome to use as a sort of leadership group in an outcast gang. You can totally do that. And the way that I did it was I just leaned into pure fluff and fun and had some really, really good games with them as well. They certainly weren't OP in any way, but those 2, Voidborn Scum that I did were really nasty. I gave them some friends on, some slaught, stuff like that, and they were just unstoppable, but they were also really, really good bodyguards as well. I think with a couple of stat ups and stuff in an outcast gang, the Bosun and the leader can be pretty good as well. And not to mention, of course, giving sling guns and armor weave to other fighters in your gang too is pretty tasty. So this is definitely one of my favorite alliances. I do think the drawback is pretty big if you're going to use them as an alliance, because obviously, you know, one of your regular fighters missing out in a game is a problem. Again, if you're using these as outcasts though, it's up to the arbitrator's discretion whether you actually use the benefits and drawbacks as, you know, part of your gang. It is fairly ambiguous in terms of using alliances as outcast leaders, champions and so forth, because do you use the benefits and the drawbacks as well? doesn't really say that anywhere. Personally, I think it's just down to the individual. If it feels like it's a bit broken, then probably don't do it. If it's also giving you a bit of a massive handicap, then maybe leave it out as well and just use the crew bare bones, and that's it. Anyway, that's really what I'm going to talk about with the Cold Traders today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back with episode 3 real soon. Peace out.